But what she didn't tell me was when she was cleaning the cage, she'd sucked the canary up the vacuum cleaner. If what the poison centre had told me was correct, when I got back to the kennel room, I expected to find the client dead, face down in a pool of dog vomit, and the kennel room smelling of almonds.
The veterinary profession isn't all about life and death decisions, stress and long hours. There is a funny and sometimes downright bizarre side to the world of veterinary medicine. Listen to Better Work Stories with the Vet Podcast.
Well, I'm back. Now, there is a reason why you haven't heard from me for quite a long period of time if you have been a regular listener to the Vet Podcast. There's the obvious reason. I've been really busy. We've done a lot of travelling. I've been helping my wife Sharon with another project. There is actually another reason as well. Those of you who have been a regular listener in the past of the Vet Podcast may remember that the last podcast that I recorded was with Kelly Deal, a veterinarian from the Morris Animal Foundation. One of the topics that we were discussing in that was CBD, cannabinol oil, or however you pronounce it. I thought I was being quite cute, and I put a byline on the podcast of "We are not drug dealers." Now, unfortunately, I never realised the big social corporates don't like that kind of talk, and I got nasty messages from them. I got, "This is your first strike." I got shadow banned on one platform. So I just thought, bugger it, I don't need this. So I've actually backed back again. But I have resurrected the Vet Podcast on a slightly different tack. In the past, it's been pretty technical. I've been retired for 5 years or so now. I think it's probably time to reflect a little bit on my life as a veterinarian. So the very first thing that I will do, for those of you who are new there, I will introduce myself. I am a veterinarian, Dr. Bryan Gregor. I have been in practice since, goodness me, 1982. That's putting an age on me, in New Zealand. So what I've decided to do, with that length of time being a veterinarian, a hell of a lot of stuff has happened. There are a lot of quirky people. There are a lot of quirky stories. So I thought that I might start James Herrieting a wee bit and just roll some of these stories out. The first one that I'm going to talk about is a long time ago, a very long time ago. I was working in a small rural area in the Taranaki, which is an area in the North Island of New Zealand. I was on duty. It was a Saturday night. From memory, it must have been the springtime. And it was about 6:30 at night, sun just going down. And I got a phone call from a client that we didn't do a lot of work for. He lived up the mountain, Mount Taranaki, Mount Egmont, on the border of the national park. So it was relatively remote. It was probably about a half-hour drive to get up there. So I got this phone call, and he said to me that he had a cow down. Now, a cow down is, normally it's a metabolic problem. It's something like low magnesium, low calcium. They may be sick, can be life-threatening. So, right, I will come up now and check what's going on. So I got out of the house into the cold, drove up the mountain. Half an hour later, I arrived there, drove to the cattle yard, which is the normal thing you do. No one there. Tooted on the horn. No one came. I thought, bugger it. Drove back down to the house. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention is that this guy was an older-ish bachelor. Drove down to the house, knocked on the door, and he opened the door. He was in his city clothes. He was in his finery. He was looking sharp, and he smelt like a bottle of Old Spice. So I said to him, well, here I am. Where's the cow that's down? Funny story, he said. She got up and she ran away. I thought, well, that's a waste of an hour. Half an hour up, half an hour back. Then he said to me, you're going back to town now? You got another call? And I said, no, I'm going straight back to town now. And he says, I'll grab a lift with you. Can I get a lift with you back to town? So, I mean, what do you do? I couldn't really say no because I was going back to town. So he hopped in the car with me. As I was heading back down the road, I turned to him and I said, look, I'm still going to have to charge you the visit for coming up here, even though I didn't see the cow. That's not a problem, he said. It actually costs less for your visit than for me to get a taxi up from town. You have to ask, was the cow ever down? I'm sure those of you that are in the animal health profession have got stories like this. I've got a heap of them, but I would love to hear your story. So if you have got a story that you want to share with me, let me know. Either message me through our social media, which is, if you just search @Vet Podcast, or one word, VETPODCAST, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you just message me through that, have a listen to some of the stories that are on that as well. I'll get back to you, or you can just email me at vetpodcast@gmail.com. Have a listen to some of the older podcasts. They are a little bit more technical than this. So again, if you just search for Vet Podcast, all one word, like the podcasts, like my social stuff, and just watch this space because I'll be rolling these out relatively frequently.